Today we will discuss how to manage the emotion fear. Before we discuss that, we should understand what is fear. So Byomkesh, tell what is fear.
Uh, from my opinion, fear is a first comes for the existence. I would say existence, and by death, like fear of death. Like if I do not have any existence, where I'll go, what to do, why I come here, where I'll go. This is the main root. I would say root fear, and after that started everything. Uh, for the next comes with the material part, like what will happen with my home, what will happen with my career. So these kind of things comes, which are something, if I am not getting that, then what will happen. So this is something fair, but everything comes to the existence. Like if I uh, uh, remove all things, my material part and everything, then I find that what will happen, what will happen with my existence, what will happen after that. I don't want to die.
Fear is mainly caused by problems of existence.
Yes.
This has been told in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. There is a word for this. It is called abhinivesha. That means clinging on. So clinging on to the body is what is primarily meant by this word. Clinging on, holding on to something. If somebody comes to beat me, if somebody is trying to injure me, then the natural reaction, as Sagar was telling, is to run away. Run away when somebody is chased by a tiger. How many of you have been chased by a tiger?
I think none of us.
None.
None.
None of us.
Okay, so if somebody is chased by any wild animal like that, or some maybe not tiger, but some people are chased by dogs and all that. So what you do, you run. Whereas you should not run, but at that moment nobody thinks that. Everybody feels that now I should run. Though you have been taught when you are being chased by dogs, you should not run. But you cannot remember that. Why? Because this urge, this instinct to hold on to your existence, to hold on to your body is there, and it is a very basic, it is a very primal instinct. That is one reason for fear. And then another reason for fear, which you said, Byomkesh, is when you want something and you don't know whether you will get it or not. So the fear of anxiety, or the fear of uncertainty, whether you will get something or not, whether this will happen or not. I want to go to an interview and I want to clear the interview and get a job, but whether I will get that or not. So, fear of not able to meet the expectations, not able to fulfill one's goals, that is a fear. So, this is a fear of uncertainty. Then there is a fear of ignorance, fear of the unknown, fear of the uncertain, then the fear of the unknown. So there is something, suppose there is a, say, there is a hallway, there is a veranda, there is a corridor, and if it is properly lit, properly illumined, nobody is afraid of that corridor because you can see everything. There is light everywhere. But the moment you switch off the lights, the same corridor, when you come, you feel afraid because you are afraid what would be there in the corridor, what could come suddenly. And you have all the horror stories and horror movies and horror novels you read. So that also contributes to this fear of the unknown. Then there is the fear of ignorance. You suppose you are being asked to cook something, or you have told that I will cook this, but you don't know actually how to cook. So this fear of ignorance, or you go to the examination hall and you're sitting, you're taking up an examination, but you have not studied properly, and then there this comes this question which you don't know anything about. So the fear of ignorance. So this is also another fear. This is a fear which is different, a bit different from the fear of unknown, because fear of unknown is something which you don't know what there is. It is completely unknown to you. But fear of ignorance is probably there was time for you to study, there was time for you to learn, but you didn't. And now you are asked to deliver. You are being asked to perform. And because you cannot, because you don't know what to do, that is a big fear. Now, all these fears, as we have seen earlier also, come from the idea of duality, as any other emotion comes from the idea of duality. The more differences you see in this world and this universe, the more emotions you will be struggling to handle. So, it will be difficult for you to handle emotions more and more you see differences in this world. So, that is the main reason, one of the main reasons why we see differences, why we see problems. And that is being explained in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad as Dvitiyat vai bhayam bhavati. In fact, there it is specifically mentioned, or the talk is specifically about fear, bhayam. Dvitiyat vai bhayam bhavati. That it is because of duality, it is because of the sense of difference that we have fear. If you are walking in the jungle and you or in the forest and you see a lion and then you don't feel any difference with the lion, what will happen? You will not feel any fear. Is it not?
Yes.
Yeah. But the problem here, there is a small problem. The lion does not feel one with you. So you may not feel one with the lion, but the lion, you may feel one with the lion. The lion doesn't feel one with you. So the lion will come and pounce upon you. So anyway, so please don't even try to attempt this in real life. Okay, like we have this joke of a person very intelligent went to cinema and was watching the movie with his friend, and then this dinosaur came on the screen, and this fellow got up and started running. The other fellow said, "Hey, why are you running?" He said, "No, no, this dinosaur is coming." Then the friend said, "But this is only a movie." He says, "You know this is a movie, I know this is a movie. The dinosaur doesn't know." So the whole point is that when you feel difference, like in a workplace situation, when you feel difference between the employer and employee relationship, you are always haunted by this difference. Not only will you be not able to perform better, but you will always be haunted by this emotion of fear. So the basic problem with fear is to understand that there is no differences. Once you understand that there are no differences in reality, you will have no fear. So the problem of fear can be handled if you understand the fact that everything is one reality. But before that, you can slowly, so that's what, wherever you find, suppose you see a person who is very strong, well built, you're afraid of that person because if the person comes and punches on your face, that's all, you are dead. So then you have to analyze that yes, this person may be bodily strong, but this person also has a mind, and his mind or her mind may not be as strong as mine, maybe even intelligent, but I may have more capacity to withstand shocks, that is emotional shocks. So that is the way you can analyze and carefully remove fear. Uh, Before we started this discussion, you were discussing that when you are kids or when you are young, you have this carefree attitude. You have this attitude that okay, I will do anything. So that is not fearlessness. You should understand that it's not fearlessness. That is something which comes because of carelessness, because of I don't care attitude, or because of recklessness. Why does it come? Because that is the age when you feel that you can do anything. You can beat anybody, you can do anything because of your bodily changes. Adolescence or when you are a young person, you feel that you can do anything in this world. That is not fearlessness, because when you become old, that goes away. If it were true fearlessness, it would not go away. So that is not fearlessness, that is recklessness or carelessness. And even there, If somebody is going to come who is very strong, stronger than you, physically or intellectually or emotionally, then even these adolescents or teenagers or youngsters, the youth, they get afraid. Only until the time when they see people who are not stronger than themselves, they are not afraid. But the moment somebody comes, say with a big gun or something, or somebody comes who will just punch everybody and pick up everybody and throw like that, as you see much in movies. So if you see such people, then these people become afraid. So fear is a very basic thing, and most of us, we are afraid to tell things, to do things, to just be what we are. We are afraid to also accept our weaknesses. So fear, you see, it is at various levels. It is at the physical level, it is at the intellectual level, it is at the emotional level. Most of us are haunted by fear at the physical and emotional level. Intellectual fear is not so much disturbing us generally, but fear at the emotional and the physical level disturbs us. So we don't want to tell something to somebody because we are afraid. If we tell this person has got this bad habit, or this person has got this irritating habit, but if I tell that, maybe that person will stop talking to me, or this person has got this particular problem, or I have this idea about this person, have this feelings for this person, but if I tell that, maybe my whatever relationship I have got, it will get spoiled, so I will not tell. So that kind of fear creates so much of problem. So you are working in a place and you always have problems with your boss, but you're afraid to tell. Why? Because if I tell this to my boss, the boss will fire me, and where will I get the next job? Most of us live a life.
For me, it's mainly the fear of unknown things or the dark things or the hidden things. Fear of ghost, fear of
Oh, like
unknown creatures.
something is sitting right under your chair, like that.
Yeah, yeah, like those things. When I am in a
So now
room
you,
alone and
now when I told this, you looked under your chair, right?
no, it's a daytime. So daytime I don't get scared. I don't have fear for those things. It comes generally at night.
In US, he had a nice incident.
When I was in US, that time I used to stay alone. So at night, some kids were doing some kind of, you know, some
Sounds.
some sounds, and they were knocking at the door, and then they were just running away. So I was not able to understand who is knocking at my door because nobody was there. And then I called 911. So he was referring to that when nobody is expecting me like to achieve something or to good in some kind of exam or anything, I do better than if somebody or my parents starts expecting out of something, or maybe even the my friends are also expecting that, okay, oh, you will do a good result or something. In that case, my result or performance, it degrades. So
Mm.
I think I have this fear of expectation also.
Mm.
Maharaj, what is difference between worry and fear?
Same thing. They are cousins actually. Worry comes because of fear. Fear, fear causes worry, and worry causes fear. It is nothing. It is just two words. It means one and the same thing. You are afraid of what will happen, and that is why worry. And that is what we call
Yeah,
as
yeah.
worry. You are afraid, and oh, what will happen to this? What will happen to this? So you are afraid of what is going to happen. You are afraid of death. That means you are afraid that other people are not dying.
No, I know, but I'm not. I'm not afraid of that. I'm not. I am too much worry about myself. When the day I realize the secret of it, I'm not afraid. I'm not dying. I will be die. I know. I'm afraid of the dying.
Maharaj, how will you explain fear in the context where fear, prevents someone from doing something which is bad? Like, you want to kill somebody, but then you fear that there's this, people like you'll be put in jail. So,
Yeah, that is a very good question. In fact, very good question. That fear has got this good in a way, socially good function, that it makes people refrain from doing harmful activities. It restricts people, it prohibits people, prevents them from doing harmful activities. Just like we have this forgetfulness. But one good function of forgetfulness is that if we were to remember everything, we will remember all the bad things that happened to us and we will probably become mad. So that is one blessing in disguise by God, given to us by God. Similarly, fear also is in one way blessing in disguise. Otherwise, just imagine as what you call a child is born who is fearless, who has no fear. Now imagine how the child will be brought up. If the mother says, "Don't do this, otherwise I will beat you," the child is fearless, has no fear. So the child will be okay, smiling, and will do whatever the child wants. So, yes, it is true. You see, that is why power cannot be given to a person, or a person who is not rooted in ethics or has not a very strong ethical framework, cannot be made powerful, because if the person becomes powerful, then that person may as well become a demon. The person may become almost like devil. So that is very true, that fear has got this positive quality also of preventing people from doing things, so that they fear law, they fear everything. And the most dangerous person, anybody who does not fear one's own death, can become the most dangerous person. And that is what is happening. You see, all across the world, all kinds of criminal activities are being done. But people are not generally afraid of small criminals, they are afraid of people who are not afraid of their own death. So they may give various reasons for that, but people who are not afraid of their own death can go to any extent. So, in that context, yes, you can say that fear has got this positive quality, but all the same, fear is not something which we should cultivate. So, if a person has no fear, say there is a soldier who has no fear, completely without fear, the soldier goes on and fights. So, that soldier will be able to create more destruction than anybody else, because when a soldier is hit by a bullet or something, it is not so much the physical problem, but also the emotional fear that, oh, now I am over, now I am done with, that the soldier stops or reduces the intensity of fighting. You see, so that is why heroic people, or even soldiers who are more patriotic, they don't stop fighting. That's why they get all gallantry awards. Some people after their death posthumously, because they don't stop fighting. They, even after being hit by so many bullets, they continue fighting. Like even in India, it happened in the Kargil fight. Many soldiers, they did not stop fighting. They continued fighting even after they were hit by bullets. So you see this thing, that not being afraid, if it comes in a person who has got a very good ethical system or is highly ethical, then it is okay. But if it goes into a person who is highly unethical or injurious to other people, then we don't know. But again, fearlessness that we want to cultivate. As I was telling you, the quotation from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, where there will be no difference. That kind of fearlessness will never lead to a person becoming harmful to other people, because that person will never see any difference. And that is the spiritual or holistic fearlessness. There the person will not see any difference, and that will create a lot of good for society. But of course, before that, we have this fearlessness, like a Don or somebody, and that will create lot of problem. So it is also important that you not only you know how to manage an emotion, but you also know where to direct that emotion to, how to channel that emotion. That's also very important. It's very important. A person may be intelligent, but with that intelligence, that person may do harmful things, may also do good things. So, how to channel that emotion or that talent or that particular power, intellectual, spiritual, or emotional, is the big challenge.
Maharaj, Swamiji once said that work on with integrity of lion and but at the same time have a tenderness of flower. I am little confused about this sentence. I mean, uh, how can you explain this?
Very simple. It is not something very complicated. It's a very simple thing. For example, this happens all the time in society, particularly with people who are into maintaining law and order, like police or firemen, or the people who work in the services like Air Force, Army, Navy, etc. They have to face this all the time. So there is nothing very complicated or confusing here. One instance is like, say, there is a person who has taken, say, some children as hostages. Schools, they go into a school and they go into a classroom and take children as hostages. So now, say there are 4 or 5 people who have done that with all guns and all that, and say you are a person who are either working for the army or for a police force, and you went there as part of a team, and then how will you deal with that particular person who has made these children hostages? You will go and try to, control that person or try to overpower that person.
Yeah,
But how will you deal with those children? You will try to take them very carefully and shift them from that place to a safer place. So you see, that is what Swamiji is talking about. The same person, you are not changing. You are the same person, but your approach to that particular person who has taken them hostages is different. You will use your force, your intelligence, everything, so that that person is brought under control. But at the same time, the same person, you will use all your softness, because the children are all afraid. They are in trauma. So you will try to take
yeah,
them in a proper way with all softness. You will take them and you will ensure that they are removed or they are taken to a safer place. The same person has got two type of approaches, or you can extend this to any kind of situation. It happens all the time in our lives. It's not something new. You see how you talk. Suppose you are walking with, say, your partner or your wife or somebody, your friend, etc., or a child, say your own child. You're walking on the road and suddenly somebody comes and tries to harm that person with whom you're walking. And how will you react? How will you respond to that person? You will give a blow or you will try to control that person. But at the same time, what would be your opinion, or what would be your attitude towards this person with whom you are walking, whom you are trying to protect? You will you will
yeah.
automatically, yeah, you will have a very loving thing, caring attitude. That is what Swamiji is talking about. So you see, in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there is a classification, Daiva Asura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. It is called the yoga of the classification of the demonic and angelic qualities. So what are the demonic qualities? This fear is also one demonic quality. So inside us itself, there is a lion, and also there is a flower. It is there inside every one of us. So we need to maintain balance between these two aspects of our personality. That is up to us. We have to maintain that balance. And if we can do it properly, then we can have an integral personality. And if we fail to do it properly, either the flower aspect of us will take predominance, or the lion aspect will take predominance. Either we will become more aggressive or we will become more and more timid. Both of it both of which are not desirable. So we need to have this balance, and that balance we can always have. Swamiji elsewhere also talks about how if there is a confusion between what should be done, you should go by what your heart says, not by what your brain says. There also we get an inkling, we get an idea of how we have to follow our heart or our ethos or our greater ideas in life, rather than following some kind of plan or some kind of thought out scheme or brain.
Well, for me, fear, I think it comes a lot from conditioning. Just as a child, have been taught to fear a lot of things, a lot of people, and also from judgment, just experiences in life. Sometimes it's almost automatic, like we react too quickly. And usually, when we have time to think about it, we realize that there was really no reason to fear.
Many parents do that if you don't listen to what I'm telling you, then there will be some kind of some booba, somebody will come.
Juju.
Some or in English there is a word. There is a famous horror movie also by that name, Babadook. When Babadook will come and he will gobble you up and eat you up and all that.
Manoj, is that the right attitude towards children? Like,
What do you
you know,
think?
making them afraid all the time.
No, no. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
It's not. Obviously, it's not the right attitude, and also it it is done
But
because of.
sometimes the children are not, they don't have the maturity to understand. So you sometimes is it right to, just
No,
make them
no,
afraid?
no, no. It is not right to tell them that there is a Baba Duke or something. That is planting the seeds of unexplained fear in them. That should not be done. And
But then the
most of
fear
the
is,
times, most of the times, parents do that because they don't have time or they don't have patience to explain things to the child. And also many times the child will not listen. Suppose you tell the child that don't go near fire, the child will not listen. At those times you have to maybe scold the child or you have to be little strict, but not putting such imaginary ideas. That this is one reason why even when people grow up, when they see a corridor, when they see a library hall, say in the evening or in the night, because sometimes when you have to study, mm, like you are staying in a campus and you are studying, then sometimes when you are doing research you have to go to the library in the night, and these places libraries open 24/7. So you go to the library, maybe at that time there are fewer people, and then you get afraid. Why? Because when you were a child it was implanted in your mind that you go to such places and there will be some jujuba bababu ki something, some unexplained, some demon or ghost who will lurking somewhere some corner and will come and pounce upon you. So that kind of fear should not be inculcated. You can
Maharaj,
scold. Yes.
one more thing, sometimes afraid as the sound of door. Ah. You're getting my point, right?
Yeah.
Maharaj, how to develop fearlessness in ourselves?
By not thinking that you are different from others, by first understanding yourself. You see, fear comes because mainly you don't understand yourself and you don't understand what to do. So that is why fear comes. So you can by totally understanding what you are, what is your what are your goals in life, what you want, etc. Everything you understand, by that you can develop fearlessness. If you know yourself, then you can develop fearlessness. That is the best way to develop fearlessness, by knowing yourself. And it,
Then
it
how
has
to know
got it has
ourselves?
got it has got different levels. First level is to know yourself, even physically. A person has got a very weak body. That person can never be fearless at the physical level, right? Person has to
Yeah,
always
yeah.
depend on many people, even for doing ordinary chores, daily chores, using the body. So then again, that person cannot be fearless. So that is one area where you have to be aware of how to understand yourself. Who are you? You understand, and then you develop that. Then intellectually understand what you can do and what you can't, what you can study and what you cannot. Then you develop that. That is intellectually becoming fearless. Then emotionally fearless, becoming emotionally fearless. You understand what maximum problems can be created by a particular situation. You understand that, and then think about that. What is the worst possible outcome which can come out of that situation? And prepare yourself to become. And one thing is, by constantly experiencing the different kinds of experiences our life has to offer, with lot of forbearance, reacting without reacting, if you can do that, if you can just calmly accept things as they come, that itself will lead to a lot of fearlessness. Because, for example, suppose you have gone to a mortuary. You have been to mortuaries quite often. Then when you go to a mortuary, you are not afraid, because that you have done a lot of times, many times you have done. If you see a dead body, the first time people cannot sleep, most of the people cannot sleep. If a person has constantly seen dead bodies, then that person will not have so much of a problem. That person can accommodate that experience of seeing a dead body. You have to understand these things and you have to work with those things.
Yeah, I also find that it's good to take some kind of an action. So if we're really scared of something, instead of just sitting there, let's say we heard some noise in the house, instead of just sitting there for like an hour and wondering what is that noise, and maybe the noise is continuing, to actually go and investigate and see what it is. So even if you're afraid of, like, let's say an exam or something, instead of just sitting there and being afraid of the exam, well, just review your notes and see. So besides seeing like the worst scenario, I think it's also very good to take some kind of action if it's possible, if you can think of some kind of an action that you
Yeah,
can take.
in a situation where, like what you said, you see that there is some sound. Instead of just wondering what is that sound, because that will only increase the fear. So you just go and see what that sound is. Go and just see from where it is coming. That kind of thing. Yes, that is true. So that will reduce fear to a great extent. You can do that. And also, for example, you are, say, afraid of a particular person, then you can, many times you can just leave that place, or you can just try to go to some other place, or you can try to bring somebody else who may give some kind of physical support. So all these things can be done to counter that source of fear. Yeah, that can be done. Mm.
Yes, and it's also not to, let's say we're fearing something that's going to come in the future. Um, it's often waste a lot of time and our energy to just think about it. So it's better sometimes just not to worry about it until we have to face it. If there's no present action that we can take, any present action that we can take. So instead of just thinking about it, teach ourselves to think about something else and just face the situation when it actually comes. Because
Yeah.
very often we're scared of something, and then in the end it doesn't even happen. A million other things happen and the scenario completely changes, and what we were so afraid and worried about did not come to pass. So
Yeah, so the fear of the future, fear of what will happen in the future, the expectation, that kind of fear, we don't need to simply talk about that or think about that. We just keep on doing what we are doing, and then just leave it to, just face it when it will come. Because if you just think about that, if you think about the future, then you are not thinking about the present, and whatever opportunity you have got, even that opportunity you are losing, and thereby you are jeopardizing your future. Because if you can do something better now, then you will have a better future. And similarly, if you think of the past, something has happened bad or some mistake you have done, and you're afraid that people may punish you for that mistake or something, that also doesn't help. So this is true that you, instead of wasting your time on just ruminating on what is going to happen on the in the future or what has happened in the past, instead of that you can simply work whatever you are doing. You just keep on doing that. So that way you can help control fear.
Yeah, and then another thing that I find is good is to rationalize. So let's say we have something, we are afraid to do something, but it could bring us something positive. Even like a job interview or something, we're going to say, oh, they're never going to hire me or something like that. But it's really not such a big risk to take. What's the worst thing that can happen? If you go for the interview, you're going to get a practice of how to answer interview questions, and you're going to get a little bit more at ease for the next one. So you can just lower your expectations maybe and say what's the worst thing that can happen and still take the risk, even if you're maybe afraid to do it, especially for something like a job interview or something. I find that a lot of people don't go for a position because they don't think they have the skills or qualities required. But in the end, it turns out that a person with much worse skills was hired just because they had the guts to go for the interview and actually apply for the job.
Maharaj,
Yes.
just a question. Like, if we go to cremation ground with the funerals, how you feel like that will give us the thing or thought that we are not body and mind.
You have to
So
think. You have to think. It depends on what you think, because even after going to a cremation ground,
hmm,
nowadays most of the places it is electrical cremation. So you will have to go and find out a place where it's not electrical, but it's cremation, the old way, the traditional way. When
okay,
you go to a cremation ground, people may be afraid again. They may become more afraid, thinking that this is what is going to happen to me also after some time. So it depends on what you think when you see the cremation. What is your brain thinking, or what are your thoughts? That is, if so, it all depends on what you thought before going to the cremation.
cremation ground. Okay,
Yeah. How did you prepare yourself? Because it will not happen overnight. And you see, as I told you, the only way or the best way to overcome fear is to understand yourself at all levels, at the physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual level. So if you know your skill sets very well, then you will apply for a job because you know I can do it. Or you will not apply for a job because you know you can't do it. Both ways. But most of us, we don't apply for a job because we don't think we can do it, though we can actually do it. So we underestimate ourselves. Or we apply for a job which we can't do, thinking that we can do. We overestimate ourselves. So the proper assessment of oneself is a very important step in overcoming fear.
okay. So each individual has to develop that.
Develop means you should give time to yourself, you should think, you should actually think about these things. You should contemplate, you should think, okay, this is what I am, or what can I do. You should spend some time daily and think. And then if you do that, automatically you will see things become very clear. You'll get very unique ideas and you will be able to go ahead with whatever you want to do. Okay, thank you. This discussion was wonderful.
Thank you, Maharaj.